While I was out of the country for work, my mom put my condo in my sister's name to help with her divorce. When I came back, they were in the living room, laughing, "Hope you don't mind being homeless." I just smiled. My sister rolled her eyes and asked, "What's so funny?" I took out my phone and said, "I never thought a single phone call could unravel my entire life." But when the bank mentioned a warranty deed and my sister's name, I felt an icy dread. What they'd done with my home was just the beginning of a betrayal so deep, it changed me forever. I'd spent years chasing ambition across oceans, fixing problems in grimy port cities like Miami and Seattle. My condo, a quiet 2-bedroom overlooking the park in Sacramento, was my sanctuary, my reward. I was Ethan, 32, a mechanical engineer who'd worked his tail off, paid off most of the mortgage by 28. It was pristine. 6 months ago, I was sent to San Diego for a new project, and I left it all in order. Smart lock installed, backup code given to my mom, Sarah, for emergencies. I thought I was the responsible adult. Now, about my family. Sarah is what you'd call a selective nurturer. She dotes on my sister, Chloe, 35, like she's still trying to win prom queen. Me? I'm the independent one. The one who doesn't need help, which, to be fair, is usually true. But it still stings to get a half-hearted, "That's nice, honey, I for a promotion," while Chloe gets a full celebration for remembering to pay her phone bill. Chloe's always been the golden child, despite a track record that wouldn't impress many employers. 2 failed marriages, a handful of jobs she quit because they didn't vibe, and a tendency to treat consequences like a suggestion. Yet, in my mom's eyes, she could do no wrong. Still, I thought I was on good terms with both. The first hint something was off came during a weekly video call from San Diego. I was on my tiny balcony, sun setting, sipping the worst instant coffee, waiting. Mom answered with her usual distracted energy, glancing off screen. "Hey, sweetheart, how's California?" she asked, her voice tight, trying to sound casual and failing. "Pretty good. Long hours, but I'm learning a lot. Crew here's solid. You good?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, we're fine. Just busy. Chloe's been staying with me a while." My eyebrows lifted. "Everything okay with her and Daniel?" A pause. "They're separating. She's filing for divorce again." I blurted before I could stop myself, "That's her second one, right?" Mom gave me that look, lips tightening like she'd bitten a lemon. "It's not her fault, Ethan." He turned out to be very manipulative. She needed to get out. I nodded slowly. "Okay. I hope she's all right." "She's strong," Mom replied quickly, then shifted the camera. Chloe was lounging on the couch, wine glass in hand, wearing what looked like my old university hoodie. She noticed the camera and waved lazily. "Hey, bro. Your place still has that air purifier in the bedroom." "I'm allergic to dust now, apparently." I blinked. "Wait, what do you mean, my place?" Chloe smirked. "Oh, you didn't tell him yet," she said to Mom, not bothering to mute herself. "Tell me what?" Mom cleared her throat, glanced at Chloe, then back at me. "Sweetheart, don't panic. It's just temporary, okay? We needed a quiet place for Chloe while she figures things out. My apartment is too small, and the neighbors have been complaining about noise." "Wait, what are you saying? You let her stay at my condo?" "It was just sitting there," Mom said defensively. "And you're not using it." It made sense. She's going through a lot. I felt heat rising in my chest. "Did you ask me, or did you just use the code I gave you?" Mom sighed. "It's not a big deal. It's family. She's not trashing the place or anything. You'll be back in a few months, and it'll all be sorted by then." I should have said more. Demanded they get out. Changed the code. Called the building manager. But I didn't. I was thousands of miles away, with a 14-hour workday ahead and a team relying on me not to lose my cool. So, I took a breath, forced a smile, and said, "Okay, temporary." "That's all." Chloe raised her glass. "Thanks, little bro." The call ended 5 minutes later. I just stood there, phone in hand, staring at the tiny digital koi in the smart pond below. Something didn't sit right. That was the beginning. Over the next few weeks, updates became fewer, shorter. Mom dodged questions about the condo. Chloe stopped popping into the background. I started noticing weird changes on my smart home app. Lights on at strange hours. Thermostat fluctuating. Once, the kitchen camera disabled for 2 days straight. I even got a building notification about a pet-related complaint. Made no sense, I'd never owned one. Every time I brought it up, Mom brushed it off. "Chloe's fine," she'd say. "She's being respectful. Don't stress." But I heard the edge in her voice, like she was hiding something. Then one day, my bank called. Routine at first, a notice about my mortgage account. I thought new statement, rate change. But as the woman spoke, something clicked in my gut. "We've processed the transfer to Miss Chloe Miller as authorized by the warranty deed submitted last week." I sat down. "I'm sorry. What did you just say?" She repeated it. This time, I caught every word. My sister's name, a transfer, a warranty deed. My head spun. I didn't authorize any transfer. I'm the sole owner of that property. A pause. Then, "Oh, I see. Well, the paperwork was signed by Sarah Miller as power of attorney, notarized, and submitted via courier." My stomach dropped. That's when it all started unraveling. But I didn't react. Not yet. I asked for document copies. Called a friend in real estate law. Booked the first flight home. A week later, I landed, jet-lagged but wired with adrenaline. I walked into my condo. They were already there. Chloe on my couch, Mom perched in my armchair like some regal guest. Both laughing about something on Chloe's phone. Chloe looked up first. "Oh, hey, look who finally decided to show up." Mom smiled faintly. "Welcome back, sweetheart." I didn't say a word. Just dropped my bags, pulled out my phone, opened the voice memo app. Chloe's voice still echoed, "What's so funny?" I grinned. Not from amusement, far from it. I grinned because I knew this wasn't going to be a confrontation. It was going to be a revelation. But before I played my hand, I had to let this thing unfold a little more. Sometimes, the best way to expose the rot is to let it keep growing until it can't hide anymore. I stepped into the living room slowly, casually, like I had all the time in the world. Chloe was sprawled on the couch, feet on my coffee table, which now had a deep scratch. Takeout container on the armrest. Her wine glass half full. Mom sat cross-legged in the armchair, nursing chamomile tea like queen of some twisted castle. Neither looked uncomfortable. "Nice to see you both," I said, my voice even. "You got a haircut?" Mom replied, like that was the pressing matter. "I always liked it longer, but it's fine." Chloe gave a lazy smile. "You're not going to freak out, are you?" "Because I'm not in the mood for one of your responsibility lectures." "I'm not here to lecture anyone," I said. I dropped my bag, walked to the fridge. Inside were things I didn't recognize. Vegan cheese, oat milk, leftover Thai food in containers I'd never bought, kombucha. One of my pre-repped frozen meals was shoved to the back, half open and frostbitten. My organized fridge now looked like someone had tried and failed to live out their wellness influencer dreams. I closed it without a word. "Look," Chloe said, setting her glass down with a clink. "I know you're probably a little thrown off, but it's not like you were using the place." I turned slowly. "How long have you been living here?" She shrugged. "Since February, I think. Whenever that whole Daniel mess started. Honestly, it's been a blur." "February?" I echoed. That meant nearly 4 months. "And you didn't think to ask me? Or tell me?" She scoffed. I talked to Mom. She said it was fine. You always make such a big deal about everything. You weren't here. I needed a place. What's the issue? I stared at her, then at my mother. Mom hadn't said a word since the tea comment. She pretended to be absorbed in her drink, but I saw the tension in her shoulders. She knew I was close to boiling over. You used the emergency access code I gave you to, what? Sneak her in? It wasn't sneaking. Mom finally said. I'm your mother, Ethan. I have your best interests at heart, and Chloe needed a safe space. I wasn't going to let her be out on the street. She could have gotten an Airbnb. Or stayed with you. She did stay with me, Mom said sharply. But I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with thin walls, and I have a neighbor who starts banging on the ceiling the second she hears a pin drop. It wasn't feasible. This place, she gestured, was just sitting empty. You weren't even renting it out. That's because it's my home. I said, louder than I intended. I didn't want anyone else in it. Chloe rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You sound so dramatic. I took a step toward them. You forged documents, Chloe. That made them both freeze. What are you talking about? Chloe asked, her smile faltering. You filed a warranty deed with my name removed and yours added. Submitted through a courier, notarized, and according to the bank, processed by someone using power of attorney. Silence. Mom's voice was soft. You weren't here. We couldn't reach you for a while. It was temporary. No, I cut her off. You don't get to call it temporary when you try to legally transfer ownership. That's not a misunderstanding. That's theft. Chloe stood up, arms crossed. Relax. It was just to help me with the divorce stuff. Daniel's lawyer kept saying I didn't have any assets, and he was pushing for spousal support. We needed to show that I had property on paper. That's all. I blinked. You what? It's not like I was going to keep it, she snapped. It was just to show the court that I had stability, that I could take care of myself so they back off on the financials. Mom helped me. She had the authority. You gave yourself my home as a prop in your divorce hearing, I said slowly, trying to convince myself this was a dream. Chloe actually nodded. Exactly. See, you get it. You always were logical. I laughed. Actually laughed. It wasn't joyful. It was hollow, sharp, a sound that came from a place between disbelief and fury. You used my house to lie in court, I said. You falsified legal documents. That's fraud. Oh my God, stop being so self-righteous. Chloe burst out. It's not like I sold the place. You've got good money coming in. You don't even need this place. I needed help. Mom helped me. You weren't even reachable for a while. I was reachable, I said through gritted teeth. You just didn't want to ask because you knew I'd say no. That's why Mom stepped in, Chloe shot back. Because you're always so rigid. It's always about your boundaries and your space and your rules. You don't make exceptions for family. You never have. My voice dropped to a whisper. And you think you do? You think family means doing whatever you want to whoever you want because it's convenient for you? Ethan, Mom said quietly. It wasn't malicious. We just didn't know what else to do. You're not even married. You don't have kids. This place could have been a new start for your sister. A new start? I snapped. This place isn't a therapy session, Mom. It's not a fresh slate to hand out like a gift card. I earned this. Every tile, every appliance, every payment. I earned it. Mom looked away. Chloe muttered, wow. Just wow. You always think you're the victim. No, I said, my voice calm again. But I think I'm done being the backup plan or the silent ATM. I walked over to my bookshelf, well, what used to be my bookshelf. Half the books were gone, replaced with pop psychology titles and vision boards. A framed photo of Chloe and Mom sat on the top shelf. I picked it up, stared at it, and quietly set it back down. And then I did something I didn't think I would. I said, "All right, you want to play house here? Go ahead." Chloe's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean, don't let me get in your way." I grabbed my phone. "Just know every step you've taken has been recorded. Every camera, every login, every lock code used, and I've already sent everything to my lawyer, including the property transfer." Mom's hand went to her mouth. You didn't." "I did," I said. "Because unlike you two, I think before I act." Chloe's face twisted. "You're really going to sue us? Your own family?" "I'm going to do what's right," I said, stepping toward the door. "I just wanted to give you the chance to be honest. But I see now that was a waste of time." And then I opened the door to leave. That's when Chloe screamed, wait, you can't. I'm still waiting on the hearing date. If the court finds out, but I didn't answer. Not yet. Because what I found just outside that door made me freeze. It wasn't a person. It was an envelope, thick, heavy, hand-delivered. And when I opened it, standing right there in the hallway, my hands trembling, I saw something that made my jaw clench harder than ever before. A second deed. Signed, sealed, filed. And this time, Mom's name was on it. Not Chloe's. My mother had transferred the condo to herself, behind Chloe's back. And suddenly the real betrayal snapped into focus. I stood there in the hallway, the envelope in my hands feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. My eyes scanned the document again and again, willing it to be some kind of mistake. But there it was, in black ink and neatly notarized. The new owner of the condo wasn't Chloe. It was Sarah Miller, my mother. For a moment, my mind went blank. Then, as if on cue, I heard the soft click of the front door behind me opening, followed by Chloe's voice, tight, irritated. "Ethan, don't walk away like that. We need to talk. You can't just." I didn't even turn around. I held up the envelope, still facing the hallway. "Did you know?" I asked. Silence. I turned. Chloe stood barefoot in the doorway, arms folded over a loose cardigan, mascara slightly smudged from whatever emotional theater she'd been prepping. Her confidence had taken a visible hit after my last words. But she still carried that stubborn defiance she always did when she didn't understand what was happening but refused to admit it. "Now what?" she said cautiously. I flipped the envelope open, held up the deed. "That our mother didn't just transfer the condo into your name to help you look stable in your divorce. She transferred it into her name. Not yours. This isn't your property. It never was." Her eyes flicked to the paper, her mouth opened, then closed. For the first time in maybe ever, I saw real panic on her face. "You're lying." "No," I said. "I'm not." She lunged forward to snatch the envelope, but I stepped back. "Don't," I warned. "I already sent scans of everything to my lawyer. This is just my copy." Chloe froze, eyes darting between the paper and my face. Then the anger hit. "She told me it was temporary," she hissed. "She said she was just holding it for me until the divorce was finalized. That Daniel's lawyers would rip me apart if they saw a property transferred directly to me right now. She promised." "Yeah," I said quietly. "She promised a lot of things." The door opened wider behind her. Mom stepped out, tea mug gone, hands clasped neatly in front of her like she was hosting a church bake sale. "Ethan," she said, a little breathless. "Please don't misunderstand. This was never about taking anything from you. I only did what I had to do to protect Chloe." Chloe spun to face her. "Protect me? You lied to me." "I didn't lie," Mom said, trying to sound soothing. "I adjusted the plan. You know how complicated legal things can get. The bank, the title company, the lawyers. It was safer if everything came through me first. But I always intended to transfer it to you eventually. Oh, that's rich, I muttered. They both turned to me. You always intended? That's why you never told me? Why you avoided my calls? Why you used my emergency access code to sneak her in and file papers behind my back while I was out of the country? Mom took a step toward me. Sweetheart, I did it for the family. You know how much Chloe has suffered. She's been through 2 failed marriages. She's alone. She needed something to build her life on. And what about me? I asked. I wasn't yelling, but my voice cracked a little. What do I get? Her expression softened with what I now recognized as practiced disappointment. You don't need anything, Ethan, she said, as if that explained it all. You've always been so strong, so capable. I knew you'd understand. And just like that, there it was again. That old familiar dynamic. The golden child needs rescuing. The capable child needs to just shut up and be fine with it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not in a loud, dramatic way, not with shouting or threats. It was quiet, like a rope breaking deep underwater. And in its place came a strange calm, a kind of numb clarity. I turned away, said nothing, walked down the hall, left the building. I didn't even stop to think. The next 48 hours were a blur. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I booked a hotel room across town using reward points, sat in silence, and stared at the ceiling for hours, going over everything again and again. I'd worked for years to build stability. All those cold nights in offshore ports, all those double shifts, the holidays I'd missed, the birthdays I'd phoned in from different time zones. I'd sacrificed real connection, comfort, even relationships for this life, for that condo. It was more than just a piece of property. It was proof that I'd made something for myself. And they'd stolen it, just like that. And the worst part? It wasn't some distant scammer or shady business partner. It was family, my own mother, my sister, people I'd trusted, even when they didn't deserve it. I called my lawyer, Michael, who I'd met through a friend 2 years back during a minor dispute with my HOA. He was calm, methodical, and completely appalled when I laid it all out for him. Let me be blunt, he said on the phone. This is fraud, plain and simple. Power of attorney does not grant someone the right to transfer property to themselves or another party unless it's explicitly authorized, which, from what you're telling me, it absolutely wasn't. It wasn't, I confirmed. I gave her limited authority to manage my bills while I was overseas. That's it. Then we're going to fight this, he said. And we're going to win. I should have felt relief, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I felt empty. Because suing your own mother isn't exactly something you dream about as a kid. But then something strange happened. I started to rebuild. Not with grand declarations or fiery revenge plots. Just quietly, step by step. I took a leave from work, burned some unused vacation days, and added on a personal sabbatical. My boss understood. The company even offered legal assistance, which I declined for now, wanting to keep things personal. I moved into a short-term rental, small, furnished, not ideal, but mine. I joined a gym 2 blocks away. Started waking up at 6 a.m. and running even when I didn't feel like it. Ate eggs and black coffee for breakfast. Read books again, actual paper books, not PDFs or technical manuals. I stopped checking my phone so much. I turned off all alerts from my family. I reached out to old friends, went for drinks with a college buddy I hadn't seen in 5 years. We talked about nothing. It felt amazing. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't living in service of anyone else's expectations. And yet, even as I slowly pieced myself back together, the betrayal still echoed. I'd look in the mirror and see the ghost of that moment, standing in my own hallway, realizing I'd been outmaneuvered by the people who raised me. Michael kept me updated. He filed paperwork, froze the deed transfer, submitted a formal complaint against the notary who'd signed off on the fraudulent documents, and requested a temporary injunction to prevent the condo from being sold or refinanced while the case was under review. They're not going to take it lying down, he warned me. Be prepared for that. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, I got a call from Mom. I stared at the screen for a full minute before answering. Hello? Her voice was brittle. I got served. I know you're suing me, she said, her voice cracking. Ethan, how could you do this to us? I almost laughed. To you? You didn't even give me a chance to explain. I told you it was temporary. You stole my home, I said, barely keeping my voice level. You forged documents and gave them to Chloe under false pretenses. And when you saw a better deal, you transferred it into your own name. It wasn't like that. It was, I said. And you know it. There was a long silence. I just didn't want her to suffer, Mom finally whispered. And what about me? I asked, softer now. Do I matter at all? She didn't respond. That was my answer. I hung up. This time, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat on the edge of my bed, exhaled, and said to myself, never again. That night, I started planning the next phase. Because if they wanted to play games with property and paperwork, they had no idea who they were messing with. The thing about hitting rock bottom is that once you're there, you stop fearing the fall. You stop second-guessing yourself. The hesitation, the guilt, the endless mental loops, they vanish. You stop wondering if you're being too harsh or if you're somehow the problem, because you've already seen the truth. And once you've accepted the truth, that your own mother weaponized your trust and your sister gleefully played along, you start thinking differently, sharper, colder, like a blade being honed. That's where I was when I walked into Michael's office the following Monday morning. I want to take it all back, I told him. But I also want to make sure they can never do this to anyone else. Not me. Not anyone. He leaned back in his chair, lacing his fingers. Good, he said. Because you're not just suing for a property dispute anymore. You're going after power of attorney misuse, fraudulent transfer of title, and depending on what else we find, maybe more. I raised an eyebrow. What else? Michael tapped his laptop, spinning it around to show me something I hadn't seen yet. A copy of a bank statement. Not yours, not Chloe's. Mom's. This is a subpoenaed account history. We served a request for financial disclosures since she used power of attorney to handle your assets while you were overseas. She was legally obligated to document everything she did with your funds. He clicked into the document, and there it was, a $12,000 wire transfer from my emergency fund, an account she was authorized to monitor for bills and mortgage purposes, to her own personal checking account, labeled Family Emergency. That wasn't in any of the ledgers she gave me when I came home, I said quietly. Michael nodded. Because she didn't think you'd look that deep. But she's not careful. She moved money, changed ownership, and filed paperwork, all while thinking her status as your mother gave her immunity. He leaned forward. Let's take that illusion away. The setup began with documentation, every transaction, every code access, every home surveillance file, every text message, voicemail, email. I compiled it all. The Smart Lock app had timestamps going back 6 months, showing Chloe entering and exiting the property dozens of times, long before the supposed emergency need arose. Even better, there was a strange uptick in access during late-night hours when the court documents claimed she was residing quietly with her mother due to marital difficulties. That phrase had angered me more than anything. Not because I doubted Chloe had marriage problems, but because she used such a serious issue as a prop, as a sympathy badge, and now she'd forged a legal trail to justify taking something that didn't belong to her. I brought everything to Michael. He was already 3 steps ahead of me. She used a false address on her divorce filings, he said, showing me the paperwork. Claims your condo was gifted to her, but her name was never on your title. Not until the illegal transfer attempt. That's perjury. He leaned back, satisfied. She thought she could outsmart the court with a sleight of hand. Let's show the judge the other hand. Still, legal revenge wasn't the only thing I wanted. I wanted them to feel it, the betrayal, the disrespect, the arrogance of believing I'd roll over because I'm the strong one. So, I started laying the groundwork for something more personal. First, I reached out to the condo board. Chloe had been using my condo as her personal crash pad, but the building had strict rules about subletting, pets, and extended visitors. I compiled the noise complaints, pet incidents, yes, she had secretly adopted a dog, and reports of smoking on the balcony, which was a fire code violation. I scheduled a private meeting with the HOA chair, an older gentleman named George, who'd been around longer than any of us. After reviewing the documents, George frowned deeply. She told us you'd authorized her to live there, he said. Even signed a statement on your behalf. She forged it, I said plainly. I never gave her permission. His face hardened. We'll take care of it. Just like that, Chloe was about to have a rude awakening. Next, I visited the notary whose stamp was on the fraudulent deed. I didn't go in accusing him, just asked questions, pretending I was confirming some paperwork for my files. His nervousness gave him away before I'd even sat down. You're the original owner of the condo, he asked. I nodded. He rubbed his jaw. I remember your mom. She came in saying you were out of the country. She showed a power of attorney form. It looked legit, but I did feel weird about it. I leaned forward. Did you confirm her ID? Did you ask for mine? He shook his head. She said you couldn't be reached, and, well, it was a slow day. I let it slide. I didn't yell. Didn't threaten. Just smiled. You'll probably be getting a call from the court soon. I'd recommend having your documents in order. His face paled. Just like that, another domino wobbled. But the biggest part of the setup came from someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year, Daniel, Chloe's now ex-husband. I found him through a mutual friend, and after a couple awkward messages, we agreed to meet for coffee. He was thinner than I remembered, hair a little grayer, face more tired. But as soon as I sat down and told him what had happened, he laughed hard. Unbelievable, he said, sipping his espresso. Actually, no. Totally believable. That woman's got more nerve than 10 lawyers combined. You think she planned this while still married? He nodded. Probably. She was obsessed with winning. Divorce wasn't about freedom. It was about leverage. She needed to walk away looking like the victim and the powerhouse. Having your place under her name, even temporarily, gave her an upper hand. She kept saying, I'll show them I'm fine without him, over and over. I shook my head. And my mom helped her. Daniel's expression turned serious. Your mom always treated Chloe like porcelain. It used to creep me out. Like I'd make a joke at dinner, and your mom would jump in to defend her before I even finished the sentence. I nodded slowly. Daniel leaned forward. You're doing the right thing, Ethan. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking otherwise. They're a team, but a sloppy one. Before we parted ways, he sent me some old text threads between him and Chloe from around the time of the condo switch. Messages like, Mom says it'll be mine in a few months anyway, and he's too far away to do anything. I printed every one of them. They'd soon be evidence. The final piece of my plan came in the form of a quiet, humiliating reversal. I contacted the building manager and explained everything. Once he confirmed the fraud, he offered to change the unit's digital locks and restrict access only to those authorized by court order. When I asked him to time the lock reset for a specific date, he raised an eyebrow. Why then? Because I want to be there when it happens, I said. I want to see her try to open the door. Revenge, huh? I didn't answer, just smiled. The same smile I wore that night Chloe laughed in my living room. The same smile I wore when I learned about the forged deed. The same smile I'd wear when everything they built came crashing down. Because this wasn't just a lawsuit. This was the end of a pattern, and I was the one ending it. The day of the reversal was warm and bright. One of those painfully ordinary spring mornings where birds chirped a little too cheerfully, and the world just seemed to go on like nothing was wrong. Like it hadn't watched me get stabbed in the back by the very people I'd once called my family. I parked across the street from my condo complex around 10:15 a.m., sipping black coffee from a paper cup, sunglasses on, watching the building like a stakeout detective in a B-list drama. It was the first time I'd been back since I left the envelope in my hand and walked away from my own home. The plan was already in motion. Michael had filed everything with precision. We'd obtained a court injunction halting any legal claims to the property and reversing the fraudulent deed transfers. Thanks to the overwhelming paper trail of forgeries, lies, and financial misuse, the court moved fast, faster than I expected. Power of attorney revoked. Deed transfers voided. Ownership restored to me. The smart lock was set to update at 10:30 a.m. sharp. The HOA was already notified. Security would be on standby, just in case. All that was left was the show. At 10:27, I saw Chloe's white SUV pull into the circular drive. She stepped out in a rush, phone clutched to her ear, sunglasses on, purse swinging from her shoulder like she was late for brunch. Her dog, a yappy little Pomeranian she wasn't allowed to have in the building, sat in the passenger seat, barking like it had something important to say. Chloe didn't look worried. She looked busy, comfortable, like a woman who thought the world was still her stage. I watched as she strolled up to the front door, tapped in the access code like she'd done 100 times before, and froze. The lock didn't budge. She tried again, slower this time, looked down at the keypad, frowned, and entered the numbers again. Still nothing. I could see the confusion beginning to spread across her face like ink in water. She stepped back, muttering something into her phone, then tried the code a fourth time. Click. Red light. Denied. At exactly 10:33, the front desk staff approached her, polite but firm. I couldn't hear the conversation from where I sat, but I saw the moment it hit her. Her shoulders stiffened, her mouth opened, then snapped shut. She gestured wildly. The staff member pointed at a document, probably the injunction, then nodded toward the security camera above the door. Chloe stared up at it, her mouth twisted into a look I'd seen too many times before, disbelief curdling into rage. She called someone, and I already knew who it was. My phone buzzed seconds later. Mom. I let it ring. Then again. Then again. Finally, I picked up. Ethan, Mom said, voice clipped, as if she'd just been interrupted in the middle of a spa day. Why can't Chloe get into the condo? She's locked out. The building is saying something about a reversal order. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence sit. Then I said, because it's not hers. Her breath caught. You can't just kick her out. She lives there. She's built her life there. She built her life on lies, I said calmly. And so did you. You're being vindictive. No, I said. I'm being clear. You didn't have to go this far. We're family, Ethan. Exactly, I said. And family shouldn't steal or lie or use each other as pawns. She paused, then said something that genuinely made me laugh. We did it to help you. Help me? I scoffed. By robbing me blind? Filing forged documents? Wiring money out of my account? Silence. I know about the $12,000, I added. Her voice dropped. I was going to pay it back. Sure, I said. Right after you transferred the condo to Chloe, right? Still silence. Mom, I said softly. It's over. The court reversed the transfer. You've both been removed from the property. The HOA is pursuing fines for violations. And you'll be hearing from my lawyer again soon, this time for restitution. She tried to argue, tried to deflect, but her voice was weaker now, smaller. She knew. She knew the game was up, and for once, I didn't let her off the hook. I ended the call. 3 days later, I returned to the condo alone. The locks had been changed. The place smelled different, airless, stale. Chloe had left it a mess. Dishes in the sink. Dog hair on the couch. A few plants wilted and dry, abandoned by the window. But it was mine again. I walked through the room slowly, like I was meeting an old friend I hadn't seen in years. I touched the countertops, opened the cabinets, picked up one of the picture frames she hadn't bothered to take. Me in my 20s, grinning next to the newly hung balcony lights I'd installed myself. I stood there for a long time, staring at that younger version of myself. He'd trusted people who didn't deserve it. He'd thought loyalty would always be returned. He believed family meant something sacred. But now he knew better. The court case moved forward like a freight train. Chloe tried to fight the perjury charges, but the text messages with Daniel, the surveillance footage, the financial logs, they stacked against her like bricks. Her own divorce lawyer testified that she presented questionable documents during the proceedings. Daniel, bless him, provided everything I needed and more. As for my mother, her misuse of power of attorney alone was enough to bring her under formal investigation. The wire transfer, the forged title transfer, the notary's reluctant testimony. All of it built a case that couldn't be spun as a misunderstanding. She tried to play the sympathy card in court, tears, shaky hands, the whole performance. But the judge saw through it. So did the jury. So did everyone. By the end of it all, Chloe was slapped with fines, legal fees, and a black mark on her record. My mother was ordered to repay the stolen money in full along with a formal apology issued under court supervision. They lost more than property. They lost credibility. They lost control. They lost me. I didn't return to my condo right away. I took a 2-week trip to Scotland, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. Hiked the Highlands, ate terrible gas station sandwiches, took Polaroids of foggy cliffs and ancient castles, let the wind scream through my jacket, and the silence settle into my bones. When I came back, I started fresh. I sold the condo, used the proceeds to buy a modest little house in a quieter part of town, one with a backyard, real sunlight, and no shared walls. I built a workshop in the garage. Planted mint and rosemary in the garden. Slept in peace. I blocked my mother's number. Chloe tried to text a few times, apologies, excuses, even you went too far. I never answered. Because you can't heal in the same place that broke you. And sometimes the cleanest break is the one where you walk away and don't look back. In the end, I didn't burn bridges. I demolished them. Then I built something better where they used to stand. And that was the best revenge of all. What would you have done if your own family had done this to you?